It's been an entire 2 weeks since I've been using the Pixel 7 Pro, and while it does mimic the Pixel 6 Pro in so many different ways, there are plenty of appreciated refinements and upgrades that caught my attention. Now just to recap, we've known since Google's 2022 I/O event back in May that the new Pixel 7 and 7 Pro were going to be very similar to their predecessors. But how they would differ on paper was mostly speculation. As it turns out, Google copied Apple's recipe in making small changes to a phone that was already successful. So not much got changed because the Pixel 6 Pro was already a spectacular flagship with a few caveats. But with so many little changes, is it even worth the upgrade? Let's talk about that. By the way, I just released these new Pixel-inspired widgets to give your Pixel home screen a refreshed look. Not only will they look great on any Android, but they're also very interactable and animated. Or you can get these spooky wallpapers for the spirit of Halloween. Only on my Patreon page, linked down below. Now the most noticeable adjustment, as we all know, is the camera bar on the back. Last year it was a seamless glass bar, which I really like since it camouflaged the cameras and made it seem like it was part of the design. But this year Google covered it with aluminum and made cutouts for both cameras and LED flash. I'm not sure how I feel about this though. I don't think it's ugly, but I do prefer last year's seamless glass design because it looks so much cleaner. The only negative things I will say is that it's an absolute grease and fingerprint magnet, especially on my black model. I think the white and hazel colorways might get away with it better, but still. And even though it hasn't happened to me, I've seen people complaining that the bar on the back has been getting scratches on more colorful models. Also, you will get some dust and dirt piling up on the top and bottom edges of the visor. Not much you can do there. The rest of the phone remains a very glossy cornering Gorilla Glass Victus back, giving way to a beautiful but still curved display topped with the same glass on the front of the phone. And yes, the display is slightly less curved than last year, but I personally prefer a flat screen. It may not make it as comfortable to hold, but it still looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. Still, the less curved screen does bridge the compromise between the big, beautiful display and maintaining some reasonable level of comfort in the hand. Because at 6.7 inches, it gets pretty difficult to use with one hand. But it's a phenomenal option for watching any type of content. Plus, I love that the screen is now much brighter than the previous generation at 1500 nits. It's still nowhere near as bright as the iPhone 14 Pro, but it's still somewhat visible under the hot sun. Also, just a quick tip, if you do get this phone, out the gate, the display will have 1080p toggled instead of Quad HD, which does extend the battery, but if you'd prefer the higher resolution, then you can change this within the settings under display and then screen resolution. I've also really enjoyed using the speakers of the phone when streaming Netflix, playing Spotify, or listening to a podcast. It's not really the loudest phone you can get, but it definitely gets louder than most other competitors. Plus, they do an excellent job at maintaining crisp sound even at the highest registers. I only wish that it were front-facing instead of a single down-firing speaker. What really excited me though about the Pixel 7 was Face Unlock. Granted, most phones have had this feature for years, but the most recent Pixels haven't. It got removed on the Pixel 4 way back in 2019, and it sucks because it worked amazingly. Well, it's back, and it does a fantastic job at recognizing my face and unlocking relatively fast. I did have some trouble setting it up when I first took it out of the box. The setup process requires a ton of light, even to the point where you may need to step outside because it just won't scan your face. Something that I never experienced before, and this could be because there's no infrared sensor, so it's just using the camera to detect your face. This makes it not as secured as most other phones, and whenever it's dark out, it will have trouble unlocking. So without that infrared sensor, Face Unlock can't be used for in-app biometric authentication, just for unlocking the screen. So whenever I'm buying an app, I have to use the fingerprint scanner or type in my Google password. But that doesn't really bother me because the fingerprint sensor is a lot more accurate and much quicker than the Pixel 6. That thing was a huge headache last year. So even though Google threw the Face Unlock feature back into its phones, it's not as secure or reliable as most other devices. Now aside from the cameras, the software is why most people choose the Pixel over the competition. It's carrying the latest Android update known as Android 13, and you can guarantee that you'll be the first to receive updates out the gate when they're released. You can expect to receive 5 years of security patches and at least 3 years of OS upgrades. Not as good as Samsung or Apple, but it could be worse. Now the Pixel 7 didn't come with any crazy new exclusive software features. Most of them you can already obtain on older Pixel phones running Android 13. The only real improvements are for AI-focused features to make them a lot faster and reliable. Things like Direct My Call, assistant voice typing, or even photography. For voice typing, I didn't see it being that much faster or any more accurate than the Pixel 6, but it did provide extra suggestions like adding an emoji. Direct My Call did a better job at transcribing any business call even if I had a bad connection. And photo processing was a lot faster when taking nighttime photography. You also get some new exclusive walls, which I thought looked beautiful. On top of that, I still appreciated all the fun Pixel exclusives that we've seen before, like Now Playing, which sits on the lock screen and lets me know the name of a song that is playing in the background, Screen Call to have the assistant answer for me, a secret weapon for getting rid of spam, Night Sight Time Lapse to capture beautiful photos of the night sky. More on that in a minute. Those exclusive widgets like the weather pill and battery box look great with any wallpaper. And there are a ton more amazing Pixel exclusives that would take too long to cover in this video. If you want a video where I go over all the Pixel exclusive features, let me know by dropping a thumbs up. If I get over 5,000 likes, then I'll do it. Plus, I want to make it clear that this phone does a fantastic job at getting me my notifications on time. Unlike other phones like Samsung or OnePlus, which have extreme background restrictions forcing you to get notification delays. If you don't believe me, check out don'tkillmyapp.com. But a few caveats that I have with the phone is that you still can't remove the at-a-glance widget on the Pixel launcher. And even though there is an option in the settings to turn it off, it still leaves the date on the home screen, so I can't really use the top half of the screen for widgets. Google, if you're watching this, please give us the option to remove this because I really want to use more widgets on the home screen, especially at the top, without having to shrink them. Or just give us bigger upgrade selections. 5x5 is not doing it anymore on this big 6.7-inch screen. On top of that, this phone gets hot to the touch real easily, and sometimes I'm not even doing anything aggressive. I'd be doing simple things like using the navigation for a small drive, leaving the camera open, or just watching TikTok for more than 30 minutes. These simple things make the phone a steaming pile of heat. Still, it's a very fast device. In specific areas like opening apps or playing video games, it's not that much faster than the Pixel 6, but you will see a dramatic increase in speed when doing AI-specific tasks. Like when taking pictures in night sight mode or asking Google Assistant any questions. It's definitely not as fast or as smooth as the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but it's still an extremely fluid device with barely any hiccups. As for the cameras, they are fantastic, which is no surprise there. The 7 Pro takes faster shots, processes photos much more quickly, and has some new software features that I appreciated. Like this new gesture which lets me zoom in by just double tapping the viewfinder. Within Google Photos, there's a new unblur button to let you clean up any old blurry photos. It doesn't always work, but when it does, it's like magic. There are also a few new modes that I loved using. Macro mode was great because it let me get really close to any item and capture them in great detail. Plus, there's a new cinematic blur mode, which just like the iPhones, tries to improve videography with much more aggressive bokeh effects whenever you record anyone. It also brightens up the colors and makes them more vibrant and provides higher contrast, just making everything look a lot more dramatic. It's definitely not perfect though. Unfortunately, there are not that many changes made to the hardware of the cameras. They're essentially the same as last year. The primary difference is that the wide-angle camera is now a Samsung GM1, upgraded from the Sony sensor on the Pixel 6. It's used for macro mode, letting you get really close to your subjects. Plus the telephoto lens on the back has a better optical zoom at 5x instead of just 4, so you'll get better zoomed in shots. But still, the 6 Pro already took phenomenal photos in any type of lighting, so as the saying goes, don't try to fix anything that's not broken. The 7 Pro was able to churn out stellar photos, no matter if I was in a bright or dark scene. I actually had the chance to go on a camping trip with Team Pixel and I was able to take some phenomenal looking shots with the 7 Pro, really taking full advantage of all those sensors. And let me tell you, no matter where I was, the 7 Pro had no problem capturing the shot in front of me. It had accurate colors, great exposure, sharp detail, and decent contrast. Even at night, the photos never really had any noise, and you could see what you were capturing with very small lighting. I was even able to capture these beautiful light painting shots, or even this quick video of the starry night sky with the clouds floating by, all thanks to time-lapse for astrophotography. Or I could use this motion mode from last year to turn this waterfall into something a lot more eye-catching. The only problem that I spotted is that sometimes with nighttime shots, whenever there was a lamppost or a bright light in the background, the Pixel 7 would produce very bad light glares and it would ruin the shot completely. Plus, sometimes when I used portrait mode with the front camera for a group selfie, the Pixel 7 would blur out the faces of those that weren't close enough to the camera. It was super annoying. Super Res Zoom was also really impressive. It's the feature that uses AI to improve digitally zoomed in shots even at 30x max zoom, and it works really well, especially this year with the new Tensor chip. It's not going to be a perfect clear shot at those crazy zoom lengths, but it still does a great job of bringing out the detail in any building or letting you read signs that are hundreds of feet away. Finally, video also came out looking great. Stabilization was perfect, sound and audio were stellar, and you can finally record in 4K at 60 FPS. Something that the 6 Pro couldn't do. I wouldn't say that I turned to cinematic mode that often though, because it did tend to blur out certain spots whenever you had someone walk past the camera. It would just ruin the entire shot, making it defocus a ton. Still, I'm sure this will be improved in the future, and who knows, we may stop using the regular video mode and just turn to that instead. As for the battery, I can't say that it was great. I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely underwhelming. It's got the same 5000 mAh capacity as the Pixel 6 Pro, and it's getting consumed faster now since we got a brighter display, a more powerful chipset, and the same 120Hz refresh rate. No wonder why they left the displays at 1080p out the box. Sneaky sneaky. But with moderate use, I will get between 5 to 6 hours. And heavy use, the phone will completely die around the evening. It's just the truth. When I was at Camp Pixel, I would constantly need to go back to my cabin just to charge this phone at around 6 p.m. because it couldn't last the entire day. Especially when I had the Pixel Watch connected. So not very impressive on the battery side, but I've definitely seen worse. On top of that, I'm still bummed that Google only supports 23 watts for fast charging, because it literally takes close to 2 hours to juice it back up whenever I'm below 15%. So don't ever forget to charge the phone overnight, because it'll be a long morning without your phone. Luckily, there's still fast wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. What did get improved is the modem performance to get faster speeds on a 5G network or improve phone calls anytime you're out of the house. Obviously, this varies between carriers, but I remember the Pixel 6 Pro struggled in obtaining a strong signal, especially in rural areas. I get really slow speeds. Now, I'm not saying that the Pixel 7 Pro increased these speeds dramatically, but it's definitely gotten better, and phone calls are a lot crispier now. In the end, the Pixel 7 Pro is just an updated refresh from the Pixel 6 Pro, which is something that Google has never really done before. In their past lineups, they've always come out with different looking designs and included crazy features that the previous generations didn't have. But then, eventually they would drop them in a newer iteration. They were pretty indecisive because they were always met with a lukewarm response. Their only real success came from the Pixel 8 series. But everything changed with the Pixel 6. I mean, that design was so spectacular that it became Google's best-selling phone ever. Its camera bar gave the phone such a unique look, the dual-tone colors were a great choice, and having their own SoC chip really made them stand out from every other basic Android. So with the Pixel 7 series, they used the same formula, fixed a few loose screws, and sold them for the same price. Just like what Apple does with the iPhone. The Pixel 7 runs at $600, while the 7 Pro starts at $900. Now, is it worth upgrading to this phone if you have the Pixel 6 Pro? Absolutely not. Aside from a faster camera, face unlock, and improvements done to the AI, you won't really notice a difference. I actually sometimes even confuse the Pixel 6 Pro thinking it was the 7 Pro when I picked it up because they're so dang similar. The only way I could tell the difference was by turning it around and looking at the camera bar. I would recommend picking up this device though if you're coming from a 2-year-old phone, because then you'll really notice the difference. Plus, it's an all-around solid device, except for the battery and charging speed. You'll get one of the best cameras on a smartphone yet, super fast software updates, a big smooth screen, and incredible AI features that no other phone has. A thumbs up from my end. Anyways, that's been my experience with the Pixel 7 Pro. If you're thinking of picking one up or already have one, let us know your experience within the comments. I'll drop a heart next to each comment that I read. If you enjoyed what you saw, please be sure to show your support by dropping a quick thumbs up. And maybe get subscribed with the notification bell turned on because I release videos just like this every week and you're not going to want to miss out. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page where I'm constantly dropping fresh new walls, KWGT widgets, and Play Store promo codes, and you'll even get access to early videos just like this before the release on my YouTube page. I'll leave the link at the top of the description. Either way, thank you for sticking to the end, and I'll catch you in the next one. Kapow!